Shinran was 9 years old, he went to Mount Hiei and started to study Buddhism. For 20 years, until he was 29, he stayed there. And Shinran studied and practiced the first two types of Buddhism on Mount Hiei. So, using this first, this length line. Basically, teachings on Mount Hiei was Tendai Buddhism. Okay? Tendai Buddhism. And, but I could say Shinran went through the first two types of Buddhism on Mount Hiei. Okay? And when he was 29, I told you, he was so frustrated. He studied so many doctrines, he practiced all kinds of practice, but he didn't feel liberation. See? So he was so frustrated. But when he was 29, he met Honen Shonin. Okay? And that was a very important experience for Shinran. So he started to enter this third good type of Buddhism when he met Honen Shonin at the age of 29. Okay? That's how happened. And then he studied under Honen Shonin, and we don't know exactly when, okay? But he moved to the fourth type of teaching. Okay? I guess Shinran met Honen at age 29. So 2 or 3 years later, I think, when he was 31 or 32, he moved to this fourth stage. So still under when Shinran was studying under Honen, he made this transition. Okay? So now Shinran experienced these 4 types of Buddhism. And later I will explain this process, how come he moved from the third type to the fourth type. Okay, I will explain this transition. But anyway, I explained this in Shinran's transition. The 2 first stages he experienced on Mount Hiei. Then he experienced these 2 stages, third and fourth stages, under Honen Shonin. Okay, that's what. Okay, now let us get into this diagram. Okay, diagram. So this diagram, first, there are 4 boxes here. Okay, these 4 boxes are representing 4 types of Buddhism I've been explaining. Okay, then each box has A, B, C, and D. Okay, so now let me explain. Okay, these what these alphabet means. Okay, A means the point where human beings are born. Okay? A means our physical birth. Okay? Physical birth. And now C. Okay? C means our physical death. Okay? A means our physical birth, and C means our physical death. And B, each box has a B. Okay? B means the point where a person embarks on the Buddhist path, each category. Okay? We are talking about 4 types of Buddhism, okay? 4 types of Buddhist path. So each person in each category, say, entered into the path. Okay? B, that is the point, B. Okay? And then we have D. What is D? D means lives after death. Okay? Life after death. Okay. So as I said, the C means the physical death. See? So in these four types of Buddhism, 2 types of Buddhism talks about life after death. Okay? Life or lives after death. So that's why you see there's a D, D, D. Okay? After C, physical death. See? But the other 2 types of Buddhism, second and the fourth type of Buddhism, they don't talk about lives after death. Okay, so the Shinran talks about this too. So we can talk about this. And another thing I want to explain is that each box has crosses and circles. Okay? Many crosses, okay, X's, and circles. Okay? And crosses are darkened, okay, with you notice the gray color, because crosses means the blind passions, something negative. And circle means the opposite of blind passions, absence of blind passions. See, that means purity. See, so you realize the more left you go, the more crosses you have. More right you go, see, you have more circles, and you have this arrow stretching from left to right. See, in the first three boxes, you have this arrow, okay, stretching in the middle of the box, okay, from left to right. This arrow means practice, or see, practice, and spelled out self-power practice. See, so this arrow, the more right you go, you have less crosses. So the more practices, less blind passions. See, the more left you go, opposite. More right you go, the more purity you have. So you see, practice is designed to eliminate blind passions, okay, and increase the purity. See, that's the meaning of the practice. The practice means the elimination of the blind passion, anger, greed, and you become a saintly person. So this is called the path of sages. See, realization of sainthood. You become the saint. Okay? So you understand the first three types of Buddhism talks about self-power practice. Okay? All are moving away from crosses. See? The crosses are covered with this gray color, see? Because it is something negative. See? Then circles are white. See? Gray part becoming white. See? And you understand that. See? It's a process of self-improvement. It is a process of self-purification. You understand, Shinran was trying so hard on Mount Hiei, first two types of Buddhism, trying to eliminate blind passions and increase this purity. Then you can call it Buddhahood or whatever, sainthood. Okay? So anyway, so that's what these alphabet means. Okay? Now, with that, let me explain each type of Buddhism. Okay. In the first type of Buddhism, practitioners believe they can eliminate blind passions. See, this that I explained. These people are confident. Oh, I have this ability to eliminate blind passions. See, I can keep precepts. I can meditate. So you advance in the way, and they can become Buddhas. See, but here, the first category of Buddhism, they do not think they can become Buddhas or Arhat in this life. They don't think it's easy to eliminate blind passions. It takes many lives to do so and become a Buddha. That's why this is a tradition called Hinayana or Hosso school. Okay? If you go to Nara, in Japan, Nara, there's a Kofukuji temple or something like that. That's Hosso, Horyuji temple. That's Hosso temple. Okay? But anyway, so in this tradition, in this type of Buddhism, you cannot become Buddha in this life. Okay? So you must die and be born, and die and be born. Okay? And you have to have many lives. And gradually, then as I explained, this is gradually, many lives, see, many lives, see. So eventually, see, this is the boat, and you have all kinds of blind persons, okay? And this boat wants to become this Buddha boat, okay? This is see, purity, see? So this is a place, see, where you try to, see, awaken this purity, see? Then, see, but here, many lives are necessary. This is number one. See, that's why it's called gradual. Many lives, see? Here. But then second one is very similar to this. Okay? Same way of thinking. I can eliminate blind passion through my practice. See? And this second one is called the tradition-wise Zen Buddhism, or Shingon Buddhism, or Tendai Buddhism, and Kegon. Okay? As I said, Mount Hiei was Tendai Buddhism. Okay? So Shinran Shonin belonged to this Tendai tradition. So the approach is same. Okay? But here, these schools talk about realization of Buddhahood in this life. See? So that's why they don't talk about lives after death. See? So they particularly Zen and Shingon. See? Zen and Shingon. These people talk about this realization of Buddhahood here and now. See? That's why you see in the middle of this box, see, people say, oh, I transcended samsara. So I realized Buddhahood. See? Actually, Shinran Shonin tried to realize that too. See? But Shinran realized eliminating blind passion was very difficult. Okay? And there's a tradition called Tibetan Buddhism. In this country, Tibetan Buddhism is very popular. I think it's as popular as Zen Buddhism. Okay? You know, many Caucasian people are interested in Tibetan Buddhism. And Tibetan Buddhism belongs to this category. Okay? And we have this Shingon tradition. Shingon and Tibetan Buddhism are very similar. They both are called esoteric Buddhism. Okay? Esoteric Buddhism. Kind of mysticism, mystic, very mystic teachings. Okay? And you know, scholars tell us that esoteric Buddhism is a mixture of Buddhism and Hinduism. Okay? Hinduism is an esoteric Buddhism, a mystic religion, talking about the deities or some kind of superstitious ideas. You know? So the Shingon or Tibetan Buddhism talk about these kind of mysterious things. Okay? So anyway, Shinran Shonin did not talk about this Shingon so much, but he said Shingon Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and Kegon fall into this second category. And Shinran called this lengthwise transcendence. Transcendence means you don't have to repeat lives. You don't have to have many lives to come to realization. In this life, you can become Buddha. Then people say, oh, I attain the enlightenment. I become a Buddha. And single people or some Tendai people say that too. See? So basically, these approaches, first and third and second, both are called lengthwise. But the difference is whether it is gradual or immediate. That's the difference. Okay, now let me move to the third and fourth teaching. Okay? And as I said earlier, Shinran's greatness or his contribution is that he talked about two types of Pure Land. Okay? Two types of Pure Land. There's two types of Pure Land. A crosswise departure and crosswise transcendence. Okay? And Honen Shonin did not talk about two types of Pure Land paths. The Honen Shonin talks about paths of sages and Pure Land paths. Honen Shonin didn't talk about two types, but Shinran Shonin talked about two types of Pure Land because initially he belonged to this so-called Jodo Shu. Okay? Jodo Shu, he was a disciple of Honen Shonin. Okay? But he thought, this tradition that emphasizes the importance of Nembutsu chanting, considering Nembutsu as a practice, practice to attain birth, there's something wrong with it. He started to doubt it. Then he started to read the text called Rajya Sutra. And he said, Rajya Sutra should be the basis of this tradition. So when he realized that, he moved to this. This is a tradition based on Rajya Sutra. See? That's Shinran called it. That's what Shinran called it, Jodo Shinshu. See? So Shinran is the one who went through this transition. So he talked about two types of Pure Land. See? That was Shinran was different even from his teacher, talking about these two types of. So here, as I said, these two traditions use the same identical terminology. See, Amida Buddha, Pure Land, Birth and Pure Land, Nembutsu Shinji, identical concepts. But I must say, the meaning of those identical concepts are totally different. See, totally different. So, see, probably you haven't realized that, I thought Nembutsu is only one Nembutsu, only Amida is only one Amida Buddha, only one Pure Land. No, Shinran Shonin says there are two types of Nembutsu, two types of Amida Buddha, two types of Pure Land. He called provisional Amida Buddha, true Amida Buddha, provisional Pure Land, true. See, so provisional Nembutsu as a practice, Nembutsu as a practice. Or true Nembutsu is something you hear. See? Hear. That's a true Nembutsu. See? So the Shinjin too. Shinjin here is one thing. Shinjin here is another thing. See? So Shinran went through this transition, and these differences between these two, that I want you to know. Okay? And it's very sad, only few English books that talk about the differences between these two. See? And books you read have Christian concepts like Savior, salvation, grace. See? These are all Christian terms they use. Okay? These terms can be used in Jodo-shi here in this tradition. Jodo-shi is very close to Christianity, see? But those terms, salvation, faith, grace, these words cannot be used here in Jodo Shinshu, okay? But unfortunately, so far, see, Jodo Shinshu teachers have been using these Christian terminology here, see? In explaining Jodo-shu, that's all right, as I said. Jodo-shu and Christianity are very similar, see? Very similar. But Shinran moved from this orientation to here, see? Shinran called, this is a tradition based on Rajya Sutra. This is different from this tradition that is based on Contemplation Sutra. Textual basis are different. See? So naturally, all the meanings, Amida Buddha, Pure Land, and Nembutsu are all different. Two whole sets of ideas. Okay? You must have clear understanding between these differences between these two traditions. Otherwise, you are confusing. See? Some of you say, I know what the Jodo Shinshu is about. I know what Shinran Shonin. But it's possible that you are actually talking about Jodo-shu teachings, not the Shinran's teachings. See? So that's why I say, Jodo Shinshu, I believe Jodo Shinshu is not introduced in this country yet. Just Jodo Shinshu, introduction of Jodo Shinshu has just begun, I think. Of course, Jodo Shinshu temples, ministers, started in this country almost 100 years ago. See, over 100 years. Institutionally, Jodo Shinshu has been here, ministers and temples. But I don't think Jodo Shinshu teaching has been introduced here. Maybe partially, yes, but no. So most of the important key ideas of Jodo Shinshu are yet to be introduced in this country. That's how I see. When some of the teachers may not agree with me, but I think my belief is that Jodo Shinshu introduction has just begun. Just begun. See? So I hope you know that the true tradition, Pure Land tradition, and many people in this country, even Japan too, are confusing these two teachings. But Shinran's desire in writing many articles and writings is that he wants to show the differences between these two. That's why he wrote. That's why he spent so many pages in explaining the provisional Amida, true Amida, provisional Pure Land, and true Pure Land. See? That's what he wants to discuss. That's what he wants to say in Kyogyo Shinsho. That's the main topic he wants to talk about. See? But there's no commentary on Kyogyo Shinsho in this country yet. Not even one commentary. See? Kyogyo Shinsho is very difficult text and you cannot understand what Shinran Shonin says without commentary. See? So I cannot blame people misunderstanding Jodo Shinshu because no English comment, only commentary on Tanisho. There are several commentaries on Tanisho. But Tanisho was not written by Shinran. No, Shinran's disciples writing. So it has no commentary on Shinran's own writings yet. See? That is the stage that we are in. And so today, at least, I want you to know the differences between these two, third and fourth type of teachings. Okay? So now let me get into the third type of teaching. Okay? So the Shinran Shonin met Honen Shonin, and he became the student in the third type of teaching. Okay? And many disciples of Honen understood Honen's teachings as the third type of teaching. And Shinran also thought, initially, Shinran thought Honen Shonin was teaching this kind of teaching. Okay? And as I said earlier, okay, this is a teaching based upon contemplation sutra. Okay? There are three basic sutras in Jodo Shinshu tradition, or Honen Shonin Jodo Shinshu tradition. Three sutras. Larger sutra, okay? And Amida-kyo is called smaller sutra. Okay? Larger sutra, smaller sutra. And contemplation sutra. Okay? So this third one is contemplation sutra. That's the textual basis of this. The Jodo Shinshu teachings are based upon contemplation sutra. And this is the tradition. Shinran's Jodo Shinshu tradition is based upon larger sutra. Okay? See? There are tremendous differences between these two sutras. That's why all the ideas, Pure Land ideas, meaning of the ideas are different. Same concept, but here, different meaning. Because these meaning, concepts of Amida and the Pure Land are understood in the context of contemplation sutra. Here, Amida Pure understood in the context of larger sutra. See? Shinran moved from third to the fourth. Okay? So initially he didn't think there was this tradition. Okay? There's only one tradition. Honen Shonin talked about this Jodo Shinshu. See? So his disciple and disciple, the Shinran, thought this is the Nembutsu tradition, Pure Land tradition, the only tradition. That's how Shinran thought so. Okay? Then what is this the tradition? Okay? So now I want to look at page 2. Here I spelled out this is the crosswise departure. And crosswise means Pure Land or other power. Okay? Departure means gradual. Okay? And Jodoshu, okay? Jodoshu school. They teaching that is based on the contemplation sutra. Okay? So here, okay, let me read that. Having become failures in the first two, A and B, types of Buddhism, practitioners here cannot eliminate blind passion in this light. See, so here, first and two types of teachings, okay, people say, oh, I have this good potential, so I can nurture and grow this good potential. See, like increase this and eliminate this. Okay? So, see, confidence in kind of nurturing and growing this. See, have confidence in one's practical abilities. First two. But as we know, Honen Shonin and Shinran Shonin had tried so hard to go this way and realize this purity, see, Buddha. But he realized it's so difficult. The more efforts I make to eliminate blindness, the more blind passions I discover. The deeper the root becomes. You cannot. It's impossible for me to eliminate it. See? So that's why he became drop out from this in a sense. Okay. So now he cannot. Honen Shonin or Shinran Shonin, see, both stayed here on Mount here many years, but they both came down from the mountain, say religious mountain, and found themselves nothing but a whole bunch of blind passion, no good purity, no purity, no good potential. So they had this confidence going this way, but now totally become failure in this. Okay, then totally puzzled, Shinran Shonin kind of, oh, I'm totally helpless. Then he met this teacher coming from opposite direction. Okay? But before I explain this meeting, here in the third teaching, crosswise departure, Amida Buddha is a savior, see, personal savior. He's just like a Christian God, Christian God. And Pure Land is explained as a place where people go after death. See, so it's like Christianity. See, so it's a real person. The Amida Buddha is a real person, and Pure Land is a real place you go after you die. See, Jodoshu. This is how the Contemplation Sutra explains this Amida Buddha and Pure Land. Okay. So Amida Buddha here, okay, this now the Amida Buddha is full of compassion, like a Christian God full of love. Okay, listening, gave the Nembutsu practice. See, so Amida Buddha feeling sorry for this. Okay. Oh, these like a simple people, wretched people, they cannot save themselves. So I will give this means for their liberation, for their salvation. This is a name. See? So I give this name. So out of compassion, gave the members practice saying the Namandavutsu to the practitioners as a last resort for their liberation. So now, see, Amida Buddha give Nembutsu. Okay. Then these people, totally helpless people, they see, when these people have faith in Amida and practice chanting the Nembutsu, they attain birth in the Pure Land after death. Okay. See, this is the key core teaching of Jodoshu. Okay. Jodoshu. That's why Shinran Shonin and the people belonging to Jodoshi, chanted Naman Dabuts hundreds of times, or thousands of times, some people tens of thousands times a day. Okay? It is called Nembutsu practice, chanting practice. Even now, if you go to Jodoshu temples, they emphasize the importance of repeated chanting. More chanting, the better. See, Nembutsu is a practice. See, that is the uniqueness of Jodoshu tradition. See, so the number 4 here is so that when people are about to die, Amida comes to welcome Nembutsu practitioners at their deathbeds, and they are supposed to have right-mindedness. So people are supposed to have this calmness of mind. See, the people, if possible, chant Nam and Dabuts while they are dying. Then Amida Buddha comes to the people and invite dying people to the Pure Land. See, that's what the Pure Land people believe in. Okay? So see, number 5 here, it is in the next life that Nembutsu practitioner perform the bodhisattva practice. So that people cannot become bodhisattvas in this life. Okay? It is because here, in this life, see, in this life, here, see, this so defined, none of the blind passions can be eliminated, like here. See, the third type of people. So that here, Shinran met Honen Shonin, and Honen Shonin was saying Nam Dabuts, he was saying Nam Dabuts, he was chanting. Okay? He was chanting. And Shinran heard this Nam Dabuts, okay? And see, and Honen said, if you chant Nam Dabuts, you cannot have any purity here. You cannot become bodhisattva here in this life. But after death, this is the death. After death, you are born in Pure Land. Pure Land is the place of this purity. See, purity here. Nothing of the purity can be realized. But since you are born in the land of purity, see, your defilements, blind passions can be eliminated. True life, true Buddhist life begins as soon as you die, as soon as you are born in Pure Land. See, after death, this is Jodoshu teaching. Okay? That's why it is in the next life the Nembutsu practitioners, they perform the bodhisattva, and in the end of this next life, lives of the second or third lives, see, this Buddhahood is realized. So that's the third diagram. That is the third diagram you see. See, so you see this. C, after C. Before C, you don't have any circles. Okay? Before C, before physical death, you don't have any circle. Then, after you die, the true Buddhist path begins. Then you gradually eliminate blind passion, and eventually, in the future life, in the future lives, you realize. See, that is the Jodoshu. Jodoshu teaching. Okay. So I said earlier, so Christianity, it's very much like Christianity. See? Amida is like a Christian God, personal savior. And Pure Land is like heaven, see? After death. See? And we are all sinners, wretched sinners, so we cannot have anything good and pure in this life. See? You must wait until you must wait until you die. So this teaching is nothing positive in this life. You see, only kind of darkness, something bright exists in the future. See, so they cannot. People here in this teaching cannot have the rich and powerful life in this world. See, it is only after they die that they can have the wonderful life. So you must wait until you die. So in the third teaching, this life is present life is like a preparation period. See, preparation period. So the wonderful future life exists after death. So you can prepare yourselves for that. But you cannot have dynamic and powerful life here and now. See? But later we understand Shinran Shonin's teaching is the opposite. See? Shinran doesn't talk about happy future life after death. No, he doesn't talk about it. Okay? It is here and now we can have Shinji. And as I said, Shinran already experienced this birth into the world of Dharma. See? He already experienced this. See? And there's a big difference between Shinran's teaching and Jodoshu teaching. Yeah. And Shinran moved from this third teaching to fourth teaching. And he realized, he initially thought Honen taught the third teaching. But by reading the larger sutra, Shinran revised his idea. And he thought, oh, actually, Honen's teaching is this fourth teaching. See? Honen's idea sounded like the third teaching, but the real teaching Honen wanted to teach was fourth teaching. See? That's how he understood it. See? So there are two Honen Shonins. See? This is a Honen Shonin as understood by other disciples of Honen Shonin. But this is the Honen Shonin. Shinran Shonin understood. See? So in Shinran Shonin's mind, this is the Jodo Shinshu is Honen Shonin's teaching. Shinran Shonin never said, I started Jodo Shinshu. Okay? She always said, I'm a student of Honen Shonin. Honen Shonin is a founder of Jodo Shinshu. And this teaching taught in the larger sutra is Shinshu. See? So there are two Honen Shonins. Shinran Shonin thought this Honen Shonin was the true Honen initially, but he revised his idea. Okay? And he moved to another interpretation of Honen Shonin. This is true Honen. Okay? Honen Shonin is the Shodo Shinshu. Okay? So that don't think, okay, this is the tradition now Honen Shonin taught. This is the tradition of Honen Shonin. Honen Shonin as conceived by other disciples of Honen. Okay. This is the Honen Shonin as conceived by Shinran Shonin. Okay. So the Shinran Shonin moved from this. So in the sense, Shinran Shonin's mind, this is the provisional Honen. This is the true Honen. Okay. That's how Shinran moved. Then this transition is the tradition from the text, one text to another. See? When Shinran Shonin discovered larger sutra, they said, wow, the Dharma, Amida Buddha, Pure and taught in larger sutra are totally different from these ideas taught in the Contemplation Sutra. See? Before C, you don't have any circles. Okay? Before C, before physical death, you don't have any circle. Then after you die, the true Buddhist path begins. Then you gradually eliminate blind passion, and eventually, in the future life, in the future lives, you realize it. See, that is the Jodoshu teaching. Okay. So I said earlier, okay, so Christianity is very much like Christianity. See, Amida is like a Christian God, personal savior. And Pure Land is like heaven, okay? After death. Okay? And we are all sinners, wretched sinners, so we cannot have anything good and pure in this life. Okay? You must wait until you must wait until you die. So this teaching is nothing positive in this life. You see, only kind of darkness. Something bright exists in the future. See, so people here in this teaching cannot have the rich and powerful life in this world. See, it is only after they die that they can have the wonderful life. So you must wait until you die. In the third teaching, this life is, present life is like a preparation period. See, preparation period. So the wonderful future life exists after death. So you can prepare yourselves for that. But you cannot have dynamic and powerful life here and now. See? But later we understand Shinran Shonin's teaching is the opposite. See? Shinran doesn't talk about happy future life after death. No, he doesn't talk about it. Okay? It is here and now we can have Shinji. And as I said, Shinran already experienced this birth into the world of the Dharma. See? He already experienced this. See? There's a big difference between Shinran's teaching and Jodoshu teaching. Okay? And Shinran moved from this third teaching to fourth teaching, and he realized, he initially thought Honen taught the third teaching, but by reading the larger sutra, Shinran revised his idea, and he thought, oh, actually, Honen's teaching is this fourth teaching. See? Honen's idea sounded like the third teaching, but the real teaching Honen wanted to teach was fourth teaching. See? That's how he understood it. See? So there are two Honen Shonins. See? This is a Honen Shonin as understood by other disciples of Honen Shonin. But this is the Honen Shonin, Shinran Shonin understood. See? So in Shinran Shonin's mind, this is the Jodo Shinshu is Honen Shonin's teaching. Shinran Shonin never said, I started Jodo Shinshu. Okay? She always said, I'm a student of Honen Shonin. Honen Shonin is a founder of Jodo Shinshu. And this teaching taught in the larger sutra is Shinshu. See? So there are two Honen Shonins. Shinran Shonin thought this Honen Shonin was the true Honen initially, but he revised his idea. Okay? And he moved to another interpretation of Honen Shonin. This is true Honen. Okay? Honen Shonin is the Shodo Shinshu. Okay? So don't think, okay, this is the tradition now Honen Shonin taught. This is the tradition of Honen Shonin. Honen Shonin as conceived by other disciples of Honen. Okay? This is the Honen Shonin as conceived by Shinran Shonin. Okay? So the Shinran Shonin moved from this. So in a sense, Shinran Shonin's mind, this is the provisional Honen. This is the true Honen. Okay? That's how Shinran moved. Then this transition is the transition from the text, one text to another. Okay? When Shinran Shonin discovered larger sutra, they said, wow, the Dharma, Amida Buddha, Pure and taught in larger sutra are totally different from these ideas taught in the Contemplation Sutra. See? Okay, now we have time for lunch, so we didn't discuss the fourth teaching, but I talked about third teaching. So after lunch, we start our discussion from the fourth teaching, okay? Okay, let's finish with the shell. Naman Dautsu. Naman Dautsu. Naman Dautsu. Naman Dautsu.